we're going to explore the dashboard from Ramin's perspective as he manages the execution of a marketing program here within MindFire. So I'm actually going to use the program that brought you to the webinar here today, since you have some context for that. And I'm going to go behind the scenes into the reporting and show you what's possible so you can get some idea of what you can do for yourself or for your customers if you're doing this on behalf of a customer. So folks, turn your attention to the screen. I can actually see how many of you are looking at your screen right now. And I'm watching that number go up. I want you to look at the screen because this is the first screen here that Ramin sees when he logs into his dashboard. And it's a view that gives him a sense for how his marketing is performing across all of his programs, all of the marketing programs that he's running. And there's a couple of areas I want to draw your attention to. First, here on the left, you have an at-a-glance view of some KPIs, key performance metrics, that measure for Ramin how things are progressing today across all of his programs. So it gives him a sense for overall performance here on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, what you see are the programs that he's running, the specific programs he's running. Now, what I've done already here is filter down to just webinars and showing just the last couple of webinars that Ramin has run. Now, as I said, we're going to focus just on this webinar here, the Marketing Corner webinar. And to put what we're about to see into context, I want to show you real quick here on the screen the marketing workflow that is behind the reports that we're viewing. So if you look at the screen, this is the marketing workflow that Ramin has put together for this webinar. You can see it's got a series of emails, it's got some microsites in it, target audience elements, etc. If you're in the MindFire family, this is probably pretty familiar to you. If you're taking a look at MindFire for the first time, some of the stuff might look new, but basically this is a visual representation of the experience that you went through to get here today. So the next view I'm going to show you is a view that just articulates this program, this one that we're looking here on the screen at. It's just that program stats. So in other words, it's showing just for the Marketing Corner webinar, its key metrics, similar to what we saw a moment ago. And here on the right-hand side, a view for Ramin of how his media channels are performing. So if you remember the little description that Ramin gave you of MindFire at the beginning, we're all about enabling you and your customers to communicate with your customers and prospects in any channel, across channels, and to automate that. And so in this particular example here, Ramin has chosen to use two channels. One is the email channel, and the other is the microsite. The microsite is where most of you went to sign up for the session that you're at today. So that's what you see here on this page. Now, what I want to do is show you a little bit more. Let's dive one step deeper and look at one specific element in the workflow. So again, this is the workflow that you all participated in. And here are a bunch of emails. Ramin, it looks like you sent 3 emails, and you've got one more that's still yet to go. Is that right?
Yep, that's the follow-up email that goes 24 hours after the webinar with the link to the recording.
A link to the recording, and also can we include a link to the slides? People have been asking about that as well.
Yep, the slides
All right.
and the recording, both.
Awesome. So here are the emails, and as you can imagine, Ramin wants to gain a sense for how well those emails are performing. So here's a view that allows him to see the performance of those messages head-to-head. So you can see them on the screen now with common metrics like opens, clicks, marked as spam, how many people soft bounce, so on and so forth, all of the common metrics for emails for each of the messages that he has sent out. Now, let's say he wants to learn more about just this invitational email. Some of you might say, hey, you know what, this view is enough, this gives me everything I need. Others of us, we like to get into the weeds and into the details, and so you might want to go one step further here in this invitational email, which is the first one here in the sequence. You can see I'm moving my mouse over it, and this is a preview of it over here on the right-hand side. This is probably what you remember seeing when you signed up for this webinar. Let's say we want to learn more about that specific email. We can go one step further and drill down to that specific email. So this is answering the question here, how is a particular email doing in terms of its interaction with your customers, your prospects? So let me orient you to what you're seeing here. On the left-hand side, some quick stats, things that are helpful to you as the marketer or as the campaign manager to understand how this email is performing, how folks are interacting with it. Here in the body of the page, you're looking at the links that you've embedded in that email. Here, Ramin's embedded a couple of links. He can see how many people have clicked on those links, how many total times they've clicked. And you remember Ramin talked about goals. And so he has set up a couple of goals for this email. And you can see how many times those goals have been achieved and the equivalent conversion rate for each of those goals. Now, everybody who's here, I would imagine all of you, unless someone did this for you, all of you visited this microsite here that I'm moving my mouse over to sign up for the session today. Right? So when you signed up, you went through a microsite workflow that looks like this. Ramin had a snapshot of something similar to this a few minutes ago. This is the microsite's workflow showing you all the pages that are inside of it. Here's a snapshot of or a preview of one of those pages, specifically this t.html. So what I want to show you now is what it looks like to measure the performance for that microsite. So on the left, some quick stats for that microsite, again, to help you as the campaign manager, as the marketing manager, or Jeff, like the question you asked a moment ago, can you share this with your customer without giving them access to the studio? You absolutely can. You can share this type of information with them, and they can go through here. You can train them on how to find what they're looking for. It's relatively straightforward, but you can give them access and just limit them to seeing the reporting information. So hopefully I answered your question there. On the left-hand side, then, you've got those quick summary stats. In the body of the page, you can see information about the pages that are in your microsite, how many page views you've received on those pages, lots of other good details here. In addition, if you have links on that microsite, things that you're linking to, you can measure how many people are clicking on those links and how many times they've clicked those links. The other thing you can do here, similar to what you're doing in the email, is set a conversion point or assign a number of conversion points. And those are the goals here that Ramin's got. One is registering for the webinar, and the other is to request a demo. And again, you can see the conversion rate for both of those there. Now, the other thing you may want to do, some of us have data capture forms where these pages that we have in our microsites are asking contacts to provide information. So in any of a page or microsite that has that kind of ability, you're able to drill down to that specific page or a set of pages and see how folks are providing data, how they're providing responses to those forms. So this is an example of one of Ramin's pages, and it shows you the form fields that are on that page, how many people have submitted information to that question, and you'll notice, and you've probably seen this throughout the presentation today, that some of these numbers look like they're clickable. And in fact, they are. So for example, if we wanted to see who these 40 people are here, you can click on that link and get to a specific listing of who those individuals are. In this case, who are the folks that want to see a demo. Now, what I've done is I've blurred out the names of the innocent here to protect them. These are real people here. And Ramin's a real person too, but I left him in just to illustrate the point here. So you're able to see, for example, all of the standard contact information for Ramin. For some reason, we don't have Ramin's phone number, so we should probably make it a point to capture that next time we interact with him. And we also have a column here for the lifetime score. Now, scoring is something that I think Ramin may have just briefly touched upon as we were going through the material today. So in case you're unfamiliar with that, let me give you a quick example of how Ramin uses it, and then you can start to think about how you might be able to apply it for yourself. So going back to this workflow here, again, this is the workflow for today's webinar. All of the channels here, so the emails, the microsite, the text messages, whatever media you are using from your toolbox here, for anything that you use to interact with your customers or prospects, you can assign a score to certain behaviors that contacts exhibit when they bump into those things. So as an example, what Ramin has done is he says, all right, in this invitation email, if somebody opens that email, I want to increment their score by 5. So what Ramin has done is over time, as he's been interacting with these folks, they have been accruing a score, which gives us and our sales team and our marketing team the ability to then rank these individuals in terms of the interest that they've expressed as they've interacted with these programs. So that's what you see here in this column here. This is the total score for that contact across all of their interactions with us over time. Now, again, if you're like me, and I know there are others of you out there that are interested in getting into the details, one very valuable view here is the ability to click down and learn even more about Ramin. So we can go one step further and say, all right, this guy's got a score of over 3,000. This guy's incredible. Let's click on him and see what else we can learn about him. So what you see on the screen now is everything that we know about Ramin. So everything he's done across any campaign, any program that we've ever run is made available here for you, for your sales team or your customer sales team, for your customer to go in and discover more about Ramin and his needs and wants. So we're not going to go into detail here. Again, if you want to find out more about this, join us at the next webinar. But you can see Ramin's total score. He's given a grade. You can see his contact information. Here on the right-hand side of the screen, you're able to see what we call an activity stream here for everything that Ramin has done, showing you visually kind of how he's interacted with you over time. So very valuable view. We'll get into more of that when we get to the next webinar.